Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Life Strategy Show. I am your show host, the remarkable Maxine Phillips. So I want you to get ready to embark upon a transformation journey as my guests and I talk about life strategies that has gotten them to where they are today. I am the CEO and founder of Level Less. Level Less is about success without levels. Oh, we work with professionals in transition. I'm talking about unemployed, underemployed, those who are ready to be promoted, and even if you're ready to retire, or you've already retired and you're unsure what direction to take. We also work with our students. I'm talking about high school students and college students, and we are here to help them to choose a career path that matches their everyday abilities so that they get the career they want, the salary that they desire, and the lifestyle that they deserve. And this can be for adults in transition as well. So Levelist not only specializes in transition, but also consulting for performance reviews. I want you to understand that our guests, they dive deep into information and many times secrets on how they achieve their success. They help us to unlock our full potential, creating a life that is not defined. Hear me out now. Not defined by traditional levels of achievements, but instead defining what success looks like for you so that you can continue to succeed on your own terms. So sit back, let us know where you're calling in from, or dialing in from, or watching from. Ask questions, and welcome to the Life Strategy Show with your show host, Maxine Phillips. Let's get started. Life Strategy Show. I am your show host, Maxine Phillips. It is so good to have you here with us today. You know, on Levelist, we talk about success without levels. And for that reason, we want you to always think about advocating for yourself, knowing your worth so that you can succeed on your terms. Now, here at Levelist, we work with youth, we work with adults, especially those who are in transition, unemployed, underemployed, as well as those who are looking to be promoted. So don't leave yourself out when you're talking about living a level-less life. And for that reason, we focus on living your legacy. Everything we do here at Levelist, we bring special guests on to come and talk about how best to live your life. Whether you're a caretaker, whether you're transitioning from one company to another, one country to another, or whatever is going on in your life, there is somewhere and somehow that you can always use tips and techniques to help us get started. I have a special guest with me this evening. I am so excited to bring her forward so that she can share with us because she's been a caregiver for years. And the thing about caregiving is that you never know when you're going to find yourself in that situation. I want to introduce you to, we call it Joe Costa. Joe Costa. And Joe is going to give her story on caregiving and also give us techniques. And she has 7 strategies that she's going to share with us how we can be caregivers and how we can make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So without further ado, let's bring Ms. Joe Costa. There you go. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Maxine, and hello to all your audience. I'm just so happy to be here today.
Well, we're so glad to have you with us because, you know, caregiving is such an important role that we all could find ourselves in. So before I even start telling my story on caregiving, I want you to give us just a little bit of background about you because I know you're an author. I know you're an advocate. I know you've been a caregiver, probably still be a caregiver, and I know you've written your story about caregiving. So give us a little background about how did you get started in what you're doing and why you want to even share with individuals here on this Life Strategy Show.
Of course, thanks, Maxine. Well, to start, I am an immigrant in the United States. I moved to the States in the late 1980s. And as any immigrants that comes into this country and wants to start to work hard and achieve what they call the American dream, I put myself to school and I was just, full employed. Well, I got married and had a baby girl. I was actually a practicing social worker. So I was actually, doing human services. Well, in 1990, my daughter was born with some special needs. Right then, I became not just her mother, but her caregiver. I realized that she was going to need, assistance and somebody to advocate for her for the rest of her life. My daughter right now is 33 years old. So imagine, it's a whole life, me not only taking care of her as her mother, but I also nurse her. I became her advocate. And I have done caregiving up to this day. Still today, I still look after my daughter.
That is awesome. I heard you say she's 33 years old.
Yes, ma'am, she is.
All that loving that you've been giving her. That is
Yes,
awesome. I said earlier when I was talking about caregiving, we never know how or when we're going to find ourselves as a caregiver. You found yourself in that situation from day one, having that baby.
right. I
And
did.
just thank you so much. I just want to just pause for a moment and just thank all the caregivers out there
Yes,
and all the individuals who are helping the caregivers, because sometimes you have to have a support team as well.
yes, yes. That is a very important point, Maxine, and something that I actually learned along the way. And this is one of the reasons I decided to do something to support caregivers.
Okay.
There's never been an infrastructure to support caregivers.
Okay.
The system is designed to care for the elderly, ill, and disabled. But what about the caregiver? What about the caretaker, the person that take care of our, aging population, people that are sick or that are born with a disability? Yeah, so that's why I decided, to actually make a mission that to support caregivers.
I love that. I love that support system. I became a caregiver when my husband took ill. And
Mm,
yeah, he was ill for 7 years before I always say he finally decided to go to heaven. And so, you never know again where you're going to find yourself or when you're going to find yourself in that situation. And I know when I found myself in that situation, he did not want individuals around us. And so even if I had wanted a support system, I could not have a support system because he was of age cognitively, in his right mind. And so he could say what he wanted and what he did not want. And so therefore that left me isolated with him. And even he didn't even want the children to come around, seeing him being ill like that. And so it does put a lot of stress on the caregiver, and it's good to have an external support system, even if you don't
yes.
have an internal support system.
Yes, I always think of this question when every time somebody shares their story, Maxine. Who helps the helper when the helper needs help?
Yes.
And I always go back to that. So and it's okay if a family member, especially if you're a family caregiver, uh, if you realize that your loved one only relies on you.
Right.
But what we wanted what the ideal would be for to have a support system out there for the caregiver,
Right.
so she can have the resilience she or he needs to be able to care for the loved one, either
Right.
short or long term. Yeah, like in my case, imagine I've been doing it for 3 decades,
Mhm.
and yeah.
Right. You're right. Short term or long term, it does not matter. And we always talk about mental health. And that's one way of taking care of your mental health. I did not realize that I was under so much stress because I was still working and I was taking off what they call family medical leave in order to take
Mhm.
care of him. And I
I
remember
know
I
that.
remember
Yeah.
having I remember having to take off at least three individual times. And eventually I had what is called intermittent family medical leave, because you just never know when the family member or whomever you're taking care of is going to have a reoccurrence.
Yes, it happens that is so common, Maxine. Nobody actually talks about it a lot, and it is good to bring it up because I most of the time people, when they hear the word caregiver, they imagine this person just not working at home, taking care of their loved one.
Right.
But most of us actually become a caregivers at a still working age.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging to find a balance. A lot of us have to actually leave our jobs, and then it becomes a financial burden,
Yeah.
when you don't have a way to, when all of a sudden you lose your income. So yeah, it's very important I mean, just to make people aware of that.
Yeah.
Even the fact that you are a caregiver, a lot of us don't actually admit it, say it out loud. It comes
Right.
the moral obligation. So
Mhm, mhm.
you say to yourself, well, it's a family member. Because I love him or her, it is my job to care for them.
Right.
So you don't think yourself as a caregiver. So I always tell people, say it.
Say it.
Until you say that you are a caregiver, and really believe it, and understand everything that comes with that, you're not
Right.
going to be able to learn how to care for yourself, how to reach out for support. I like one of the things that you say in your website, Maxine. You always say, ask for help,
Yes.
reach out. Even when you're setting up your goals, I mean, make sure somebody is there to support you, to
Yeah.
be accountable for whatever, you do in life. So I love that. Yeah.
And that's so many times we don't ask for help, even though he did not necessarily want me to bring individuals in, but I could have still asked for help and gone to them and not necessarily bring them into the home, but actually go out,
Right.
and be with them. The other thing that, caregivers need to understand too, and I mean, I didn't understand all of this, and this is my first husband that I'm talking about. And what I did not understand is to look into what Medicare offers as well as help as well, because that's a support system for you. And I didn't realize
Yes.
all the resources
Right.
and the help that Medicare can give individuals who are in that age range.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
another thing that I had to learn the hard way, in a sense, the
Right.
hard
Yes.
way.
Yes. And that is exactly my point, that, it's good to voice that. And somebody somewhere is going to say, listen, we have all these resources available for you. And
Right.
it's just, people that teach them how to access the system, how to go about it. Yes. And actually teaching them how to do it themselves,
Yeah.
it really makes people feel validated. Like, yes,
Yeah.
now that I have the information, I know how to go about it. And,
I love it. I love it. Not only go about it, but they also know how to use that resource later on or even share with another person in the family. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are at the point that we're going to start talking about the 7 strategies for caregivers. And so, Jocasta, why don't you share with us the 7 strategies that you have used along the way that has been beneficial for you?
thank you, Maxine. Yes. So I have used I put together 7 strategies that in my journey of caregiver for the past 30 years served me very well. That's a lot of it comes from experience, but also doing the work. I always like to say people, you have to do the work. Don't expect that anybody or something is gonna come and fall in your lap. You have to do the work.
Correct.
It's very, very, very worth it at the end. So here they are. First one, equanimity. You
Okay.
know, Maxine, when you are in the caregiving experience, the more you do, the more your health and mental health physical health and mental health is impacted. And one sign is that you lose patience, and people they start feeling irritable,
Mm-hmm.
and not actually having patience at all. So every little thing actually bothers them, and they have bursts, and sometimes it's not the fault of the caregiver itself, it's the circumstances. It's very important for caregivers to understand that.
Okay.
It's not that they're not being kind, or they don't know, they don't feel bad for their patients or loved ones. It just comes with experience.
Okay.
So learning equanimity teaches you to stay calm in situations that are very chaotic or stressful,
Okay.
like caregiving. And the way actually equanimity, so you could be an equanimous person. It's just, it might be part of your nature, but it can also be learned and cultivated.
Okay.
So in my case, I learned how equanimity, being mindful. In other words, trying to be in the present moment, understanding this is okay. It's okay to be tired, to be irritable. It's okay. It's part of my human nature because of my experience. But I can do something about it. I can either embrace it and say, yes, it's okay that I'm experiencing that. And if you can at the time, use breathing exercises. Is very important. And also it helps you patient and your loved one. It actually helps everyone around you. The energy you put out is actually received for everybody around you.
Okay.
So learning how to, breathing exercises is like a starting point for anybody that never heard of equanimity or never practiced equanimity, or never heard the idea of cultivating equanimity.
Okay.
The second one is actually very related to that, is self-compassion. Maxine, nobody teaches us that it's okay to be kind to ourselves.
Right.
We actually grow up thinking, it doesn't matter, if you're coming from a place of, the way you were brought up at home, your religious belief, that you had to be kind to others. And that is actually a blessing. It's okay if you have a compassionate heart.
Right.
But what about, being kind to yourself?
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
never thought, and I wish, we start teaching that to kids in school,
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an act of selfishness, that doesn't mind that if you are kind to yourself, you won't be able to be kind to the other person, or people around you. It simply means I am taking care of myself so I can take care of others.
Yeah. And that's
And
why
it is
I was going to say that's why I talk so much about living your legacy, because if you're living your legacy, then you have it forces you to take time and give compassion to yourself or be gentle to yourself so that you can do some of the things that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
Even as a caregiver.
Yes, and exactly, and actually this applies to anybody, not just caregiver, anybody that is in a position, in a experiencing something that they say, I am so exhausted. I am actually I don't have any more in me to give. And basically, because they're fatigued for whatever they're doing, or, just burn out. So anybody in any area that is experiencing burnout or fatigue could actually practice self-compassion.
Well,
So
I like the number 3 that you're getting ready to talk about, and it's talking about caring for your body and mind.
yes,
That
yes,
mental state that I just talked about. But even the body, you have to eat properly, you have to exercise, you have to breathe, you have to give that body some oxygen.
yes,
And I found myself not doing that when I was a caregiver, and found myself being ill along with the patient, and
yes,
that's what would happen if you're not, taking care of that body and your mind as a caregiver.
yes.
So talk a
And
little bit about that.
sure. And if you notice, Maxine, one is really related to the other. And that's why I put the 7 together. They all had to work together. If you don't take care of your body, the way you nourish it with, healthy food, if you don't exercise, even if you don't hydrate throughout the day, caregivers are so busy that they even forget to drink water.
Right.
And, or just, hydrate. I call it healthy pauses, where you take 5 minutes every hour and you either stretch, you drink water, you do breathing exercises, even walking around the room or, around the house. It doesn't matter what your reality. Yes, it helps your body and your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
So the part I use for the mind mostly is, living intentionally, mindfully in the present moment. Try to catch those moments and say, yes, this is good. I can actually cut it, I smile. Yes. Even, when you sigh, that is living mindfully. Don't let those, what I call it, micro moments, don't let them escape. And that is living mindful. Anything you do, gardening, I have a list of things that I do every day: stretching, playing with my pets at home, even just telling myself, Yocasta, you done well.
Yeah.
That positive self-talk is mindfulness. So that is taking care of your mind.
I
So
like.
just being mindful about taking care of your body and your mind every day really builds up the resilience you need as a caregiver, as a human being, and on anything you do. Yeah.
Well, the things that you talked about you do every day, that goes back to that number, I think it's number 3 or 4 or 5, and that's what cultivating rituals.
Yes.
Put something in place that you enjoy doing every day that's going to add a healthy way of doing things, a mindfulness, intentional, and living your legacy. I always have to come back, living your legacy. But so talk to us a little bit. Is there anything more that you can add to that, cultivating your rituals?
Yes, changes is very hard in general for all of us.
Okay.
So what I usually recommend is to start small. First, you have to identify where do you want to go? What are your goals? What is it that you wanted to accomplish? Until you don't have that clear, you're not going anywhere, and it's just gonna be tumbling in, trying to figure out what is happening to me, why do I want to go, where, how do I get there? So setting up goals, or what we call it, the strategies to accomplish whatever you want to achieve in life. And I like the way you put it, Maxine. It's like you need to have a plan, and starting with a short-term plan rather than the unrealistic long-term plan. And also breaking it down. You have to make sure that you know what are the steps needed to accomplish that goal.
Right.
And realizing, what can you bring? What are your own abilities? And I like how the way you put it, you call it innate abilities, the ones you are born with. So
Correct.
taking that into consideration. I know in my case, Maxine, that I'm good with people. It's very easy for me to actually approach people. I need that. That's how I feel, connecting with people and doing a lot of listening. I mean, I'm doing a lot of talking now, but I mostly gone through my life listening. And it is the best way to connect, when you listen, right? Yeah.
Right.
So that helped me a lot. Listen to even to yourself, try to figure out in your mind what are your goals and what are the strategies you need to get there. So I use the the 5 steps to the change itself. It's like where you realize you don't have a goal, okay, or you are in a denial, or they call it the pre-contemplation, when you
Right.
say like, yes, I heard that, but I don't think that's realistic. I don't think I can accomplish that. I'm not ready for that. The contemplation is the second one, when you say like, oh yeah, I might consider doing that.
Right.
Yeah, that looks very exciting. I just not sure how to go about it. And then action, third, when you actually do something about it. And that goes back to, putting down, setting up your goals, where you break it down. Yeah. And then, it goes on like, the number 4, you accomplish your goals, you feel good about accomplishing your goal, and having, maybe you had a support system. Maybe you had somebody there, that it was, it was accountable,
Right.
help you get there. I can call it a mentor, a coach. It's part of you, like, you mentioned, that's what you do. And you don't, I like it when you call it leveless, there's no levels here. The idea is to lift each other up. Okay.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And then, and number 3 is 5 is like what they call it maintenance. People think, oh, I accomplished it, I got that. If you don't do the things you need to do to keep that in place, you're gonna lose it, and then you're gonna have to start all over. Yeah.
So yeah, that mindfulness is very important, because even with creating goals, you have to be mindful of the goals that you put in place. And
Right.
how does it fit into your lifestyle? How does it fit into your balancing your day-to-day activities? So I told you I worked full time, and then still was a caretaker, still had to take an FMLA. And here I'm an executive director. So it's not like, you don't have these other responsibilities going on, but you manage. And that's where time management and organizational skills is very helpful. And I love
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you said you have to listen, and listen to your body, listen to
Yes.
your mind, and
Yes.
listen to other people, because sometimes you get a
Mm-hmm.
word of advice through other individuals if we just take the time and pause to listen.
Yes. Yes.
I like that. And
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, we don't drop just golden nuggets here on Levelist. We drop platinum nuggets. And so I trust that you're writing down these platinum nuggets, because one of the ones that I'm going to reemphasize was the fact that take that 5-minute pause. But she called it a healthy pause. Every hour, take a 5-minute pause and be intentional and mindful about what it is that you're going to do with that pause. Is it to get up and hydrate yourself? Is to get up and not necessarily eat every time you had a 5-minute pause. But what is it that you intend to do? And before you know it, or just relax. Just close
Yeah.
your eyes and relax, and just close your eyes and breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Meditate, so
Yes.
there's some things that you can do for yourself in those 5 minutes. Well, I know there are 2 more. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's probably 2 more
Yes.
that you can share with us. And those other 2, if we start with the shared humanity.
Yes. I like this one, Maxine. It really the one that actually help us connect with another person.
Okay.
Somebody that is actually sharing the same experience you are in. And it's very, actually, it's something like, once you experience something, it feel like something click instantly. And what it is if you think about, somebody else must be experiencing this just like me.
Right.
You don't feel isolated. You don't feel alone.
Right.
So, when sometimes, well, you call it like pitying yourself or feeling like victimizing.
Yeah.
I don't like to use those terms. What it is it's just coming from a place of loneliness.
Mhm.
This is so hard, and I feel so lonely. Nobody understands.
Right.
And it's so common for the person to feel that way. And actually, I can understand that. You can understand that, Maxine. You've been a caregiver. Well, the minute you stop and you think about, wait, I'm sure there's somebody else going through the same experience
Yes.
and feeling the same way I feel.
Right.
So you don't feel alone anymore. You feel actually connected to other human beings. And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Once you voice that, I am a caregiver and I'm reaching out, I want to talk to other caregivers out there. Is there anybody that can connect me to another caregiver?
Mhm.
Because we are all here worldwide. Only in United States, Maxine, there's 53 million caregivers.
Mm.
53 millions, 48 millions are family caregivers.
That's
Both
a large
unemployed,
number. That's a
yes,
large
both
number.
pay and unpaid. Some of us are still working and caregiving. Some of us do caregiving, 100% at home.
Yeah.
So everyone, we are all connected. We just need to realize it that, we all sharing the same human experience, and you're
Right.
not going to feel alone anymore. Yeah.
And that's amazing because you're right. Many times you feel like you are the victim and you're by
Yes.
yourself until you start reaching out and start talking to other people. And you only
Right.
find out that they're going through some of the same similarities or the same issues and things like you. I know when my husband first died and I started reaching out and telling it, sharing my experience, sharing my losses and so
Yes.
forth. And only then did I realize that there were other people who had gone through it as well. And
Yes.
they need, and here I am, a life and career coach, and that's a part of life. Career
Yes.
is a part of life. And
Right.
life, I say life is a project because within life there are small increments of things that we're going to be doing that has a beginning date and an end date. And that's
Yes.
what a project is, but your entire life is your journey. That is
Yes.
your life project. That's why I say
Yes.
live your
Yes.
legacy while you can.
Yes.
So I like the fact that you said, yeah, do it and be intentional, you know.
Yes. And one of the things I tell caregivers, I remind them of that. Both suffering and joy are part of the human experience. So this is one of the tips I give to caregivers. The minute you accept, you realize, yes, suffering is part of my human experience. Instead of avoiding suffering, recognize that suffering is part of life, just as joy. The difference is, you can learn the tools necessary to handle, how you experience suffering.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's even as a caregiver and you are working day to day, you still have to find that joy in your part of life.
Yes.
Things
Yes.
that you do on the job that might not bring you joy, but it might start bringing you joy when you realize
Yes.
that the caregiver part
Yes.
at home is taking so much energy away from you, but you have to understand how to replenish yourself. And one way to replenish yourself, you go back to the holistic health way, eating healthy, drinking your water,
Yes.
hydrating yourself, and
Mhm.
meditating for the mental side. And for
Yes.
those of you who have a spiritual side, then bring in that spiritual side as well.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
neglect that. I believe
Yes.
in a higher power than myself. And so I rely on that to help me
Right.
gain strength and move forward as well.
Of course. Yes.
So we have different tools. I think
Mhm.
is there one last one more at the end?
Yes. So the
Cultivating the
last one's
compassion.
cultivating compassion. So
Right.
the
Okay.
last one is actually the sum of the other seeds.
Okay.
And if you learn 1 through 6, you actually learn everything about compassion.
Mm,
And with that, I'll say it is a practice that needs to be learned. So you have to start, like I said earlier, small steps, but also be consistent. It doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as you set up, you have the intention to cultivate, that your goal will be cultivating compassion. And that includes, gratitude, journaling, taking time to yourself, like, all the things we discussed, learning about equanimity, be kind to yourself, taking care of your body and mind, and so on. There's and mindfulness. Mindfulness is for me, is how I actually started on all these many years ago.
Right.
And having a compassionate practice, daily compassionate practice, actually is what makes a caregiver a resilient caregiver. Like I call myself the fearless caregiver.
I love that.
Yeah.
Fearless caregiver. I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
We're gonna have to make sure we attach that to your name, fearless caregiver.
Yes.
I call myself the levelless woman.
Yes. Yes, you are, Maxine.
Yeah, so I love us giving ourselves the labels that we want
Yes.
individuals to know in what we do. But you
Yes.
know what? We talked earlier that you're an author, and I know that you had a book release.
Yes, I do. I
So
did.
when was that book release?
And December 23rd last year. Yes. And actually, and my book is both in English and Spanish. So, if somebody in your audience feels more comfortable reading in Spanish, but it's called Breathe. We were talking about breathing, and that's where the name comes from. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. The book is out. It's at Amazon. You can go to Amazon and purchase it, and it's called Breathe. And her story is the story about her caregiving, and so what better way than to hear from, I always say, the caregiver, and hearing them tell their story and not hearing someone else tell their story. And this is her way of living her legacy. Her child is her legacy. 33 years of caregiving to someone that she birthed and brought into the world. Can't get any better than that. I love it.
Yes.
I absolutely love it.
Thank
So
you,
I
Maxine.
want to thank you for coming on and being my special guest this evening. We are going to put the 7 strategies out there. And plus, I want you to listen. I want you to share this video, and it's going to be on YouTube. So I want you to point everyone to YouTube to watch this video as Joe Costa share with us the 7 strategies of caregiving. And we never know when we're going to find ourselves in a position as a caregiver. And not only that, we believe here on Levelist that you don't keep the information to yourself. You share it. You pay it forward. You pass it on, because you just never know who needs to hear what you just learned today. So don't keep it to yourself. So, Jocasta, what would be the last word of advice you'd like to leave with the viewing audience?
I will say self-care. Learn how to take care, love yourself, be kind to yourself, and everything will be much easier for you to care, in your role of caregiving. Yeah.
Caregiving.
Yeah.
And with Levelist, I always leave my show saying, I believe in you. I trust you believe in yourself. Have a good day. Meet me back here, same time, same place, next week, same station, but invite someone to come along with you. Take care until then.